L is
Yup,
for the way
that's who you think it is. The Grimace mug. The Hello Kitty keychain. Barbie herself. For a limited time, your favorite McDonald's collectibles filled with memories and magic are now on collectible cups. Get one of 6 when you order a collector's meal at McDonald's with your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets. Come get your cup while you still can. At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.
The more you're able to measure as a CEO or entrepreneur, the better decisions you can make for your company. So I love the idea of creating one dashboard that ties everything together. So to reduce costs and to reduce headaches, smart businesses are graduating to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, HR into one platform and one source of truth, one dashboard. With NetSuite, you reduce IT costs because NetSuite lives in the cloud with no hardware required, and you can access it from anywhere. You cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because it's now one unified dashboard. You improve efficiency by bringing all your major business processes into one platform. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move, so do the math. See how you'll profit with NetSuite. And look, I've told this story before, but one time the CFO of a major company asked me to do this back in 1997 to create one dashboard for him to use to look at all the different pieces of his company. And I didn't do it. I was too lazy. I was doing other things. I was chasing, I was dating, and that took up a lot of time. So by popular demand, NetSuite has extended its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for a few more weeks. Head to netsuite.com/James. netsuite.com/James. And again, 37,000 companies use it. Try it at netsuite.com/James.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show.
You have like the best name in the world for someone who's going to write about leadership. Like I would hire you as a coach just for your, like Marshall Goldsmith is like the perfect name somehow.
Yeah, your name's a little tougher.
Yeah, like I would switch names with you if you wanted to.
I'm good with my
Like
name.
James Altucher.
I like
so
it.
Annoying.
I got a good name.
Yeah, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith.
Yeah, it sounds pretty official.
So you're starting MarshallGoldsmith.AI. For people who don't know you, you've written an enormous number of books about leadership, very successful books. You've sold over 3 million copies of your books. Your articles are read everywhere. You coach many Fortune 500 CEOs and other people. You're known as a leader's leader. Like you teach people how to more effectively lead. I want to get to some of your books, and I want to get to MarshallGoldsmith.AI, the new AI venture you're doing. But what does it mean to be a good coach? Like, can you give an example of someone you've helped?
Sure, I'm very fortunate. I can mention the name of all my clients. So,
Okay, good.
Let's see. Do you know who Alan Mullally is? The guy that turned around Ford?
Yeah.
Well, I was his coach. I mean, Alan, an amazing, amazing person. I started coaching him before he went to Ford, and he and I are writing a book together right now, and he's probably one of the greatest corporate CEOs in the world in the last 30 years. And he,
and Ford's like the only car company I feel that hasn't gone bankrupt.
Well, remember what happened? He went there when they were going bankrupt.
Yeah.
The stock was at 101. He left, the stock was 1840. And even more impressive, he had a 97% approval rating from every employee in a union company. This is United Auto Workers talking about a CEO. That's mind-blowing.
And he was the first non-Ford family member, right, to be CEO, I believe. I think Bill Ford was the CEO before him.
I think there might have been a couple before him.
Okay.
In any case, an amazing leader. So and I learned a great lesson from him. I saw Alan. Now he and I are doing a book. I said, Alan, he's a friend of mine. I've known him 20, 30 years. So I said, Alan, of all the people I coached, you improved the most. And I spent the least amount of time working with you, and you were great to start with. And I said, I made a chart. On one dimension is called time spent with me, and the other dimension is called improvement. And there was a negative correlation between spending time with me and improving. So I said, the way that the chart looks, had you never met me, it'd be even better. So I said, what should I learn about coaching from you? You only have one problem as a coach: work with great people. Work with great people, you win. Work with people who don't care, you lose. Only work with great people who are dedicated, hardworking. You're going to look like a genius.
Maybe that's the point, though. Maybe like I always wonder if how much effect coaching actually happens. Like people, I find in general, people don't really change, right? It's the whole thing with everybody has a New Year's resolution.
Wrong.
Tell me.
People definitely, look, for 47 years, I didn't get paid if my clients didn't get better. People didn't get change, I wouldn't get paid. No, people can have huge changes. Now, Alan was great to start with. I'll give you an example of a guy who wrote a book about it, who would tell you he had a lot of room for improvement to start with, Hubert Jolie. Hubert was CEO of Best Buy, the guy who turned Best Buy around. And, he wrote a book about the heart of business. He talks about me being his coach. And he would tell you, he really improved a lot. Now, he's a great leader. He would tell you, I wasn't that great to start with. He would say, unlike Alan, who I said was fantastic to begin with, he was he never a bad guy. He's ex-McKinsey guy, very analytical, a little bit cold, but he just really got better. So he'd be an example of a guy that had really
In
positive.
what way? Like what way was he bad, and what way did your coaching help him get better so that he could turn around Best Buy? And Best Buy really is an amazing story, since all that stuff you could buy online, and somehow Best Buy is a successful store.
Well, what happened, he wrote a book about it called The Heart of Business. And he talks about having a coach. Let me talk about him. He wasn't a bad guy. Nobody I work with is a bad person or evil or mean, or they're not, genetically defective. He was just a little bit more McKinsey-esque. I guess I'm using a stereotype, but, he was ex-McKinsey guy, analytical. What are the numbers? Hello, what are the numbers? He really didn't relate with people very well. He wouldn't be described as a guy who you wanted to go over the hill for.
And can I ask you a question? So how does that translate into being bad at being a CEO of Best Buy? Like, what's a specific example where?
Well, let me give you an example. He goes to Best Buy and he stands up in front of everybody. And the first thing he says, my name is Hubert Jolie. I get feedback. I have a coach. I'm trying to improve. Then he says, I want you to do the same thing. And to me, this is key, lead by example. He said, look, it wasn't a secret. They're going bankrupt. He said, I need you more than you need me. I need you more than you need me. And let's work together and try to turn the ship around. And he did a spectacular job. Now, again, Alan did a spectacular job too, starting from a different base though.
So you're saying though, with Best Buy, because he was coaching and because he was working on improving himself, one way he built, let's say, a tribe among the employees of
Right.
Best Buy is that he said, hey, we're in this. He got them to think we're in this together. It's important to you to save this company, and you can do that by improving yourself. And that was sort of inspirational to people.
Exactly right. And again, I would never claim that somebody had a leadership coach and the company started making money next week with that leadership coach. I have a degree in mathematics, and there are like a million variables impacting the bottom line of a corporation that I have no control over. For example, I coached a guy who was the CEO of Texaco. The stock doubled in value in 1 year. Well, whoop-de-doo. There happened to be a war in the Middle East. I mean, come on. I can't sit there and say I took credit for the stock doubling. Now, he was seen as a more effective leader by the people he works with, but I can hardly say that's why the stock doubled because I was there.
And okay, like for both these last two guys, like forget Alan for a second because he was born out of the womb a great leader. Although I don't discount your coaching, but like, what did you do with these guys that helped them become better, more effective, more successful, and things we all want to do?
Well, let me describe the way I work. Let's imagine that you're the future CEO, okay? And I'm coaching you. I would say, all right, first, I only work with people who want to improve their behavior. I'm not an expert on strategy. I'm not an expert on finance, marketing, any of that stuff. I focus strictly on helping very successful leaders achieve positive change in behavior. 2, I only work with successful people. I'm not in the fix the loser business. I'm in the help the winner business. So I only work with very successful people who want to achieve positive change in their behavior. So step 1 is you have to identify your key stakeholders. So I'd say, all right, who are the most important people in your life that you work with? You, and if you're not the CEO would have to agree on this. These would typically be board members. They would typically be peers, direct reports, colleagues. Average client has 18. After you identify
18 stakeholders.
18, average, that's average. Most is 40 something, at least is 8.
So a stakeholder, though, just to understand, these are people who are very important to my success. Like
Yeah.
all together, so board members help me, or they either help me or they have to approve of decisive decisions to move the company forward.
Right.
Big shareholders or investors, they're important. Key employees, like my bench, like if I'm the CEO, the COO, the CFO, maybe the head of sales, these are people I need to kind of get motivated. And who else?
Well, and it could be also about, I'd say 60% I interview their family.
Yeah.
The reason is, you see, it's good to interview people outside of work, like the family. Here's why. For most of us, the same problems we have at work, we have at home. And if you get the feedback at work, you might say, well, that's just them or me, or I don't act that way normally. You get the same feedback at home. It's pretty hard to say, wait a minute. Hey, your wife says this, your kids say this, and everyone you work with says this. Maybe it's you.
Yeah.
It gets a little harder to deny. So I interview everybody. I do these confidential feedback reports. Now, do you know Dave Chang, the chef?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he also wrote a
He
book.
did Momofoko.
Oh, yeah. I love Dave. He wrote a book also about me being his coach.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were his coach.
No, he wrote a book called Eat a Peach. Now, the book is a serious book. The part about me is hilarious. He talks about getting feedback from me and just like...
So, like, tell me the story.
Oh, he talks about getting feedback from me. It's hilarious. Now, he might have exaggerated a little bit. He says, well, this guy Marshall comes in and he's talked to everyone around me. He's got this feedback. He starts with the positives. And he goes on and on about how good I am. I'm sitting there thinking, well, I don't know if I need a coach at all. He's probably going to tell me I'm just fantastic. Then he said he starts on the negatives. And it goes on and on and on. He finally said, will this ever end, right? Then he finally
What were some of the negatives?
Oh, typical stuff, arrogant, know-it-all, try to be right all the time, impatient, it's nothing. I haven't seen it a few hundred times. So then he goes on and on. It's hilarious. Then he says, well, is there any hope at all? Is there any good news here? I said, well, there's a lot of good news. Number one, people work with you. That's a shocker in the first place. I don't know why anybody's here, but they are. So thank God for that. And then he said, and this is terrible, but it is published in his book. He said, do you have any advice for me? I said, yeah, 2 words, eat shit. He said, well, and then he said, what happens after I eat shit? I said, eat a little more.
And what did you mean? You mean he needs to kind of
apologize. Just apologize. Quit trying to be right. Don't be rude to people. Just get up and say you're sorry.
And once you started working with him, how did you see him change? How did you see his business change? Did his business change?
Look, I can't say. You can ask me, did I do X and did they become rich? The answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. I really don't even know enough to give an intelligent answer to that question.
No, I get that because there's no metrics for like personality development or success, really. Success.
Well, let me tell you what I'm most proud of with him, though.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with business. His son. He loves his kids. And Dave, if you read his book, This Isn't a Secret, would tell you that, he didn't always have the easiest time being happy. And I always try to, look, a lot of people I coach are mostly rich people anyway. I do a lot of volunteer work, but the ones that pay me mostly have money anyway. So what am I supposed to do? You move from 4 billion to 4.1 billion, So I just hope people have a better life and the people around them have a better life, right? And if I've got to explain to doing this is going to help them make money, I'm talking to the wrong client anyway. If they don't have it in their heart, why am I working with them? Help some rich guy get richer? Who cares? So anyway, Dave, what I'm most proud of, though, is I got through to him with one thing. I said, you want your kid to be happy? He said, more than anything. I said, do you believe in leadership by example? He said, I do. That's why I have a coach. That's why I've been doing this stuff. You want your kid to be happy? You go first. You go first. You be happy. And really, for him, for some reason, that hit the mark. Because he wasn't connecting his personal happiness with how that impacted his family. And to me, what's more important? I mean, look, nobody coach is going to starve to death. Hubert's not starving to death. Dave's not starving to death. Alan's not starving to death. These are all, they're doing just fine. They meet me, they're doing fine. They don't meet, they're going to fine anyway. But what I'm most proud of is he would say, help him have a better life.
And what did he do?
Focused on being happy.
And how did he do that?
It's not as complex as you think. Okay, I'll ask you a question. So I'll see if I can coach you a little bit. Ready?
Yes. I think I'm coachable. I want to be coached.
Well, you may not have an issue with this, but I'll ask anyway. One of the things my daughter Kelly taught me is active questions. They all begin with the phrase, did I do my best to? And one of the clients, all my clients ask a question. How would you score on the answer to this question? Did I do my best to be happy today? Now, this is in one of my books. 3 people I asked this question to are one, Dr. Jim Kim. Dr. Jim Kim has a simultaneous MD and PhD with honors from Harvard in anthropology in 5 years, was president of Dartmouth, then went on to be head of the World Bank, and now he's at Global Investment Partners. Dr. Ross Shaw was head of the USAID at age 35, reported Hillary Clinton. Now he's head of the Rockefeller Foundation. And Dr. John Noseworthy, he's head of Mayo Clinic. So, reasonably smart people there. All medical doctors. I said, on average day, how would you score and did I do my best to be happy? All 3 had the same answer. Never dawned on me to try to be happy. They're all medical doctors. So I said, did it dawn on you you're going to die? They cover that in medical school? I said, yeah, they brought up that death thing. I said, you think it's a stupid question? I said, no, it was an important question I forgot to ask. Too busy achieving things.
Do you find that the most driven people often have a hard time acknowledging the role of happiness in their lives?
Well, first, you haven't answered my question. Average day, 1 to 10 scale. How do you score on did I do my best to be happy on the average day?
On the average day, I would say about a 6 or a 7. And at times it's been as high as an 8, as times it's been as low as a 2 or 3.
Okay, here's my idea for you. Ready?
Yeah.
Test yourself every day on that question. Every day, just give yourself a score every day. It takes about 2 minutes to do that.
And I think that's a good idea, but I'm going to challenge it for a second.
Now, wait. You want more coaching? One of the things I teach in my book is when people give you ideas, you never say that's a good idea, but. Because as soon as you say but, it shows you're not really listening to the idea.
You're right, because I'm thinking of times when I wasn't happy, but it's because I was driving myself towards a goal and I wasn't happy. I outsourced my happiness to whether I was achieving some goal or not.
Fantastic example. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to teach you something. You know who Safi Bahcall is?
Excuse me?
Safi Bahcall. I don't know if you know him. He wrote a book called Loon Shots.
No.
Well, anyway, Safi Bahcall's in this group. I was with these 60 really bright people over COVID for 2 years. So I could spend every weekend with these 60 people. We did all these groups and stuff. Safi was one of the people. He said, I finally learned a lesson in these groups, which you need to learn this lesson. Are you ready?
Yes.
He's a scientist. He said, I finally realized happiness and achievement are independent variables. He said, I always believed that I would be happy after I achieved something. But he said, I realized happiness and achievement are independent variables. Now I said, Safi, I'm glad you realized that. You already have a PhD in physics from Stanford. You wrote a New York Times bestselling book called Loon Shots. You started 4 businesses. You made $1 zillion. You consulted presidents. That's not enough achievement to make you happy? You think a little more is going to get over the line? Okay, ready for coaching for you?
Yes.
I read your bio. If that's not enough achievement to make you happy, Do you really believe a little more is going to get it over the line?
Take a quick break. If you like this episode, I'd really, really appreciate it. It would mean so much to me. Please share it with your friends and subscribe to the podcast. Email me at altucher@gmail.com and tell me why you subscribed. Thanks. We see it every day. Cybersecurity is important. Like every single company in the world is hackers are constantly attempting to hack every company. And that's never going to end. And the hackers are only get better and better. So not only do you need a good cybersecurity solution, but you need to be able to demonstrate to other people that when they use your company, you're safe, solid, secure. So Vanta does that. They make sure that every company, that all their customers comply with all the cybersecurity standards, demonstrating top-notch security practices and establishing trust with their customers. Vanta helps you streamline security reviews by automating questionnaires and demonstrating your security posture with a customer-facing trust center, all powered by Vanta AI. Over 7,000 global companies use Vanta, like Atlassian, Flow Health, and even Quora, one of my favorite websites, uses Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. So get $1,000 off Vanta when you go to vanta.com/James. That's vanta.com/James for $1,000 off.
L is
Yup,
for the way
that's who you think it is. The Grimace Mug. The Hello Kitty keychain. Barbie herself. For a limited time, your favorite McDonald's collectibles filled with memories and magic are now on collectible cups. Get one of 6 when you order a collector's meal at McDonald's with your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets. Come get your cup while you still can. At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.
Like I was just watching this documentary, Breakpoint, about tennis players who are, let's say they're in the top 100, but they're not in the top 5 or top 10.
Right.
Almost all of them were miserable. So these are like, let's say 500 million people around the world play tennis.
Right.
And these are the best. These were like 6 of the best 100
Right.
of those 500 million people. And all they've done is work on tennis and they've achieved. They're like the best. And it's a game. So it's a fun thing to be the best in the world at. All of them were miserable.
Well, it's a fun thing for how long?
Yeah, I don't know.
How long? Not very long. Look, one of the guys
For instance, they're miserable when they lose.
Yeah, of course. One of the guys that coaches Albert Bourla. Albert's CEO Pfizer. Called him a few years ago, said, Albert, how's it going? Oh, going good. Came up with that vaccine. Very good, Albert. Good job. And I took that vaccine. Maybe it saved my life. Thank you. And then the company price all-time high, pride in the company, on. It's just an unbelievable year. I said, Albert, great job. You got any problems? He said, I have a huge problem. I said, what is it? He said, next year. If his happiness is a function of doing better than last year, he can pack it in. It's never going to happen again. Michael Phelps won 25 gold medals. What do you think of doing after winning 25? Kill himself. You can't achieve yourself to happiness. Now, in one of my books, I talk about 3 things. 1 is our aspirations, sense of higher purpose. 2 is our ambitions, our desire to achieve. And 3 is our day-to-day actions, enjoying the process and engagement of life itself. People listening to you right now or listening to me right now, they're not lost in their heads. They're not lost in lofty thoughts. That's not their problem. And they're not hedonists or just watching video games all day trying to have fun. That's not their problem. The people listening to us right now tend to be addicted to achievement. And they tend to believe that they're going to be happy once they get a result, once they make a number, blah, blah, blah. It's all going to be good when. But they don't realize there is no when.
Why is there no win? When? What if they define their metric and...
The Buddhist term is the hungry ghost. What that means is you're always eating, but you're never full. There is never enough. Now, achievement is a good thing. And happiness and peace are good things. They're independent variables. You're never going to achieve your way to be happy. I work with billionaires. Some are very happy, some are miserable. There's almost no correlation between money and happiness after that. Now, I think they're both important. Achieve to achieve, be happy to be happy. They're not the same thing.
And so let's say, okay, I don't want to act like I'm challenging you on this. Let me do it more as like a how question. Like
Right,
how can you motivate yourself in a positive way without being too attached to the results?
very simple. You can motivate yourself by the process of the result. Let's take a golfer, for example. Being attached to the results doesn't help anyway. It doesn't help you achieve anything. Okay, golfer, I'll tell the parable of the golfer. The golfer is on the last hole. People in front of him making noise, yelling. He's annoyed. He's a little country club here. He hits a drive. The last hole has a chance to win the club championship. It looks perfect. Somehow it goes into the rough. What happened? There's a beer can. He's pissed off, angry, those idiots. What's the golfer need to do? Forget about the results. Forget about the results. Forget about the results. Forget about the drive. Forget about the pass. Forget about winning the club championship. Hit the shot in front of you. By the way, Roger Federer, just listened to him talk. He was a pretty famous athlete. You know what Roger said? The point you're about to play is the most important point in the world. He said, don't focus on the results. Don't focus on results. When you focus on the results, you screw up your head.
But okay, so he says the most important point in the world.
I
What if
think
you
you
lose
heard
the point?
but again, see, but
It's true.
by the way, I find my clients $20 every time they start a sentence with no but or however. So you're down, and they donate the money to charity. So your favorite charity is now $140.
All right, well, done. So what if you lose that point and it's the most important point in the world?
You know what you do? The point you're playing is the most important point in the world. Then the next point's the most important point in the world.
What if that's the end of the match?
End of the match, you know what? Match is over. Match is over. It's done. John Wooden was a coach at UCLA. He believed in this stuff. He was the most winning coach in college history. You know what he said? Don't ever focus on winning. You focus on the shot. Coach K at Duke, he has a great saying. The player hits the shot, jumps up and down. You know what he says? Next play. Player hits a shot, misses a shot, they're depressed. You know what he says? Next play. Play the shot.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's so hard because let's say you're an athlete like that and you devoted your childhood, your teenage years, now your young adult years to making those shots, and then you suddenly stop making them. You can get afraid. Hey, this is my career, or maybe Coach K won't like me anymore, and so I'm not going to get, the best positions, and I won't get, drafted, and I'll have to work in a supermarket instead. I don't know. Like there's fear.
You're not thinking about the shot then.
Mm.
You're thinking about a bunch of other stuff, not the shot. Do you know who Curtis Martin is? Curtis was a football star, National Football League anyway. He was number 5 rusher in history. And, a lot of ex-athletes have huge problems. You see, they focus on results, but what happens after the game's over?
Yeah, right. Or their careers end relatively young. Like what happens when their career's over?
Alcoholism, drug addiction. A lot of money is spent giving money to their friends because they try to buy love. That's what happens when you focus on results all the time.
So how do you learn then to not have any external or man-made metric to evaluate your self-worth?
You were on a roll until you said self-worth. I think it's fine to have external metrics. I'm sure you look at external metrics. You probably know how many people listen to your podcast. You know how many people you and I both do on LinkedIn. It's not like you have
1.2 million followers.
Yeah, it's not like you have no metrics here, right? You're very familiar with these metrics, and it's okay. I have metrics. You have metrics. Coach K has metrics. John Wooden tried. He wanted to win the national championship, but he didn't fix on that. He said, "You win, you win. You lose, you lose." That's life. And don't get fixated. This is basically there's the oldest poem in history. It's called the Bhagavad Gita. And the whole purpose of the Gita is never focus on results. Never Never place your value as a human on results. You can't win. You cannot win when you do this. By the way, most motivational speakers, what's the old message? Achieve more, delayed gratification. Are you familiar with the marshmallow research at Stanford?
Yeah.
Yeah, give a kid a marshmallow. Eat one, you get one, but if you wait, you get two. Oh, and allegedly they did this longitudinal research. The kids that ate one all become losers and junkies. Kids that eat two are all heroes, right? Well, and the message is delayed gratification is good. Every self-help book, delayed gratification is good. I'm sure you had speakers. Here's how you go on a better diet. Here's how you work out more, blah, blah, blah. Delayed gratification is good. Here's what they didn't do in the study. They didn't take the kid with 2 marshmallows and said, hey, kid, wait a minute. You get 3. Let's wait some more. 4, 5, 10, 100, 1,000. Where's the story end? Old man sitting in a room surrounded by 1,000 uneaten marshmallows. Sometimes you need to eat the damn marshmallow.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, right, like what was the big deal about getting 2 marshmallows? Why not just eat one?
I didn't do the
If I'm a
research.
kid, I just want one.
Yeah. I didn't do the research, but anyway, you can look it up. It's interesting. Jack Welch almost died. Famous, Jack Welch was famous CEO. So he had triple bypass surgery. My friend worked with him on his book. So he said, Jack had triple bypass surgery there. For a second there, he thought you might die. What did you learn about life? He's waiting for some deep comment, right? What did you learn about life when you had triple bypass surgery? You thought you might die. You know what Jack Welch said? Why am I drinking the damn cheap wine every night? See, Jack Welch has this incredible wine collection. He's drinking cheap wine, waiting for his wine to appreciate in value. And he said, I'm Jack Welch. I'm rich. This is insane.
This is a really good point. Like a lot of these people, like you said, they're all rich. They're all successful. What about somebody who's listening to this who's really afraid? Inflation's gone up. Maybe they lost their job. They might not be able to feed their family. Their spouse no longer cares about them as much and they think it's because they don't have a job. Like they're just afraid.
Start working on getting a job. Hit the shot in front of you. What are you doing? Sitting there being afraid doesn't help you any. What are you doing?
It's almost like you can't think your way out of fear or depression or anxiety. You have to act your way out of these things.
Well, let me give you another example. There's a common misconception of the clutch shooter in sports. You heard that, he's a clutch shooter. It's all BS. Somebody's done research on this, right? In fact, the more pressure you're under, you tend to do worse. And even how good the best players are under pressure? They're as good as they are when they're not under pressure.
What does that mean?
That means they don't choke.
Oh, I see.
They don't back to results. They don't focus on the result. They focus on the shot. You want to hit the shot? Don't think about the result. You think about the result, you're not thinking about the shot.
Yeah. So how do you go about, let's say, training yourself to not focus on the results when the results are really important to you?
Well, again, I didn't say achievement was a bad thing or it should be unimportant or you shouldn't try to achieve results. Is fine. Just don't believe that's ever going to make you happy or find peace. It won't.
And again, like let's say someone like David Chang, you were able to motivate him through the story or linking happiness to the happiness of his child.
Right.
But what general techniques let's say one of these tennis players who's always miserable.
Another butt there, by the way, but go ahead.
Okay, and now it's $100. I don't know, $200 or whatever. So how can I, on things that are very important to me, how can I not focus as much on the results? Let's say I publish a book and it's not a bestseller.
You keep saying don't focus on the results. I didn't say that. I didn't say results are trivial or unimportant. What I said is you don't place your value as a human being based on the results, and you don't think the results are going to make you happy. Let's take you. Now, you do podcasts. You probably count how many people listen to podcasts or some nonsense like that, or followers you have on LinkedIn. Such foolishness, right? Well, that's fine. I do too. I mean, I don't have a podcast, but I count how many followers I have on LinkedIn and all that crap. So I do the same thing. Here's the key, though. Don't fix on it. Don't fix it on that shit. So let's say you do a podcast and you're podcast of the year. Okay, fine. Who gives a shit? How long is that going to last? Right? You're going to be podcast a year forever. Well, you'd say, I still want to have a great podcast. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy this podcast. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not saying you don't try.
Mm.
John Wooden did say, don't try to the basketball players. Coach K didn't say, don't try. What he said is, play the game. You're thinking about winning the game. You're not playing the game. You play the game, you improve your odds, you're going to win the game.
That is interesting. So are we just talking some bullshit semantics?
Oh,
or is
no.
there something real there?
No, there's not just bullshit semantics, because let's take the guys that coach. If you place your value on achievement, your happiness on achievement, you're just not going to be happy. Now, you may or may not. Let's assume you don't achieve any more in your life at all. Let's take you as an example. You achieve
Sure.
no more. Who gives a shit? You've already achieved a lot anyway. But let's say you do your best and you achieve a lot or you achieve none. Let's say out of this phone call or a Zoom call, you only got one thing. Or let's say you break even. You neither become more nor less effective. And very few of my clients would say I made them less effective. Okay. So let's say you don't become more effective or less effective, but you're happier. Bad call or good call?
No, that would be a great call. And so the question is, how do I get to that point where, like, look, let's say I'm afraid if I don't achieve more, people won't like me as much,
Right.
which maybe is a legitimate fear for me. How do I kind of move in a direction where I don't think like that as much?
Well, the first thing you say is, if I don't achieve more, people may not like me as much. Okay. I'm not
All right.
arguing.
Yeah,
Maybe they won't.
that reminds me actually of like Byron Katie's approach. Like you ask yourself, is this true?
Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't. My thing for you is, though, look, when you wake up in the morning, just try this out. But I'm giving you a suggestion. It takes about 2 minutes a day. Now, you're not going to be out much if it doesn't work here, and I doubt you're going to achieve less. Are you ready?
Yes.
Every day, you're going to ask yourself one question. Did I do my best to be happy today? That's all. And you're going to rate it on a scale. If you just do that, you're going to get better. You're just going to look, it's very interesting. I coached one guy who's worth $4 billion. I said to him, what am I supposed to do? Get you to 4.1? He said, no, I'm not really happy. He said, help my friend be happier. I said, fine. I worked with a guy for like a year and a half. He got much happier, doing great. I called him up, maybe 4 or 5 years later. How's it going? Not so good. So I said, what happened? He said, I forgot to be happy. I forgot to be happy.
And so what did he forget to do?
He forgot to remind himself to be happy. He woke up in the morning and he forgot to be happy. He got so busy doing shit that he forgot to be happy. This happens all the time. You forget to be happy. Why? You're too busy. Too busy achieving things.
Going back to what John Wooden said, play the game, and probably, maybe, two things will happen. Probably the results will be better, and B, you'll be happier.
It's right. Play the game. 3 things. 1, you need a higher purpose in life. You need some answer to the question, why am I doing this in the first place? And nobody can tell you what that is. Yours is yours, mine's mine. But you need some sense of, why am I doing this, other than I'm just doing it? Number 2, you need to achieve things. I'm not saying achievement is bad. I'm pro-achievement. You need to achieve things that are consistent with your higher purpose. And number 3, though, is you need to enjoy the process of life itself. You don't want to die and say, look, I had a higher purpose, I achieved a lot of shit, and I was miserable. I mean, that's not a particularly great idea. So these are 3 things you need to do, but they're not the same things.
And I know you take a Buddhist perspective to a lot of your coaching.
Right.
In Buddhism, it seems like there is no man-made higher purpose, that you're one's fooling oneself if you think there's a higher purpose.
Well, it depends. There are many schools of Buddhist thought. So really, I don't say in Buddhism they do this, that, or the other, because you can take 5 schools of Buddhism, they believe 5 different things. Buddha said, only do what I teach works for you. So really, there is no Buddhism says anything. So I don't want to voice this off on Buddha. I'll just give you my philosophy. My philosophy is, look, it's good to have some higher purpose in life. So all that work you're doing is for some reason. 2, it's good to achieve things because then you're actually doing something other than just having a higher purpose. And 3, it's good to enjoy the process of life itself. 4, don't assume that one of those gets you to the other. It won't. You can achieve a lot and make $20 zillion, have no purpose in life. You can also have a higher purpose and achieve nothing. And you can also have a high purpose and achieve everything and not be happy. So those are 3 different things that are all very good in and of themselves. But as Safi said, they're independent variables, not dependent variables. Most people listening right now think that peace of mind and happiness are a dependent variable based upon achievement. I can guarantee you one thing, they are not. That's one thing I can say with certainty. You're never going to achieve yourself to peace. You're never going to achieve yourself to happiness. There's no amount of money that's going to buy it. In making money and achieve what would make you happy, the people I coach, those 60 people every weekend, would jump up and down off the ceiling every day.
Yeah, it's another day, but what kind of day is it really? A day of doom scrolling? Laundry day? Nah, it's a White Claw day. Light and refreshing tasting, uniquely cold wave filtered. There's an iconic flavor for everyone. So grab a pack, grab your friends. Make the most of each day with those who matter most. When you're together with White Claw, every day is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You just gotta grab it. White Claw. Grab life by the claw. Please drink responsibly. Hard seltzer with flavors. White Claw Seltzer Works, Chicago, Illinois.
Imagine earning a degree that prepares you with real skills for the real world. Capella University's programs teach skills relevant to your career so you can apply what you learn right away. Learn how Capella can make a difference in your life at capella.edu.
You know, Benjamin Franklin once said, in any year, if you make $101 and you spend $100, you're happy. If you make $99 and you spend $100, you're unhappy. So there is something to peace of mind in just paying the bills.
I'm not arguing about paying the bill. I'm not arguing you shouldn't achieve. I'm not saying you shouldn't make money. I don't say any of those things.
But like, it might be easier to have peace of mind and happiness if you simply could pay your bills.
Not really. Look, for people listening on this call, let's get real. The people listening on this call are not going bankrupt. People listening to this call can pay their bills. People listening to us right now read books. They listen to talks like this. The people you're talking about, none of those people are listening to this call right now. None of those people buy my books. I've done studies who buys my books, your books. None of those people buy these books. We're not talking to any of those people right now. On this call right now, you got a bunch of very smart, highly intelligent people that are trying to get better in life and are very driven to achieve. I doubt very few people listening to this call are bankrupt.
Who do you think buys your books?
I did a study on that. 2/3 have graduate degrees. 95% graduate from college. They're mostly, very bright people who are focused on trying to get better.
And so now you're doing this AI thing so people can access. I can go to MarshallGoldsmith.AI and ask questions to Marshall Goldsmith. I can talk to Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall's wisdom, ready for all,
and it's free.
So I'm gonna ask you the question right now.
Okay. Well, now let me ask you a question. You'll talk to me. What's a good question?
Why am I never happy?
Well, let's slow down. Let's don't ask you 12 questions.
When I achieve my goals.
What can I do to be happy in a way that is not dependent on achieving my goals? And I'll see what my friend says. I haven't asked it this way before, but I'll find out. To be happy in a way that does not depend on achieving your goals, you can focus on the following. 1, practice gratitude. Regularly reflect on what you are thankful for. Gratitude can shift your focus from what you lack to what you have. 2, engage in acts of kindness. Helping others can provide a sense of joy and fulfillment that is not tied to personal achievements. 3, cultivate mindfulness. Live in the present moment. Mindfulness can help you appreciate the here and now rather than being preoccupied with future aspirations. Anyway, it goes on. It goes on.
That's great. It's interesting about the gratitude. Like Stephen Kotler, who's this expert on flow, said that the easiest way to kind of hack flow is to practice gratitude.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. I don't know for sure if it's true, but I like the sound of it.
Yeah, it sounds good.
You know, a lot of times people suggest, I mean, I have a lot of people who come on this podcast who suggest certain things, certain diets, certain ways of thinking, certain attitudes.
Yeah.
It's hard to know if anything is true.
What's that?
It's hard to know what's true.
Well, you know, I'm certainly not an expert, but probably, for my guess, most of the diets probably work.
Yeah.
By the way, my coaching process, I did a study called Leadership as a Contact Sport. You want a copy of it, send me an email, Marshall@MarshallGoldsmith.com. I'll send you a copy. 86,000 people. You do the stuff I teach, you will be perceived as a more effective leader by all those key stakeholders. It's not a theory. This is a fact. It's hard to do. I teach something called a daily question process. Every day I evaluate myself on questions. It's hard to do. I've had people ask me, do I have a coach? I have somebody call me on the phone every day for 27 years almost to help me. Why? My name is Marshall. I'm too cowardly and undisciplined to do any of this crap by myself. I need help.
And so what's a daily question you ask yourself?
Did I do my best to be happy today? Did I do my best to set clear goals? And then I have a bunch of health questions. You know, how many steps did I take? I'm good on the step 1. How much do I weigh? There's a bunch of questions about life every day.
And I guess what it does is it helps you keep discipline. So like, let's say you're concerned about health and you make this something that you consciously ask yourself and write down. So it's there front and center in your head. You might not, it'll help you notice a little bit more when you're being undisciplined and snacking and whatever. It's almost like the Honda effect. Like once you get a Honda, you notice all the Hondas on the street. So once you focus on happiness as opposed to achievement, you start noticing all the opportunities to be happy rather than the opportunities to achieve.
I did not say happiness as opposed to achievement. One of my questions is, did you do your best to be happy? Another question is, do you do your best to set clear goals? And number 3, did you do your best to make progress toward goal achievement? Yeah. I'm not knocking achievement here. It's on the list. It's on the list. It's not the same one as happiness, though.
What's an example of someone you coached who wasn't coachable, who didn't really, you couldn't really get through to?
See, back to my friend Alan. Number 1, I never try to make anyone change. If people say to me, prove to me this is worthwhile, you know what I'd say? It probably isn't. Don't bother. I got plenty of business and money. I don't need this. You don't want to do it? It's okay. Maybe a terrible idea. It sounds stupid. Probably is. Probably a dumb idea. Don't bother. I never coach anybody. How do I inspire people to do this stuff? I have zero effort inspiring anybody. Option A, you will do all the stuff I talk about. You do this hard work, etc. You want to do it, great. You don't want to do it, bye. I'm not going to work with you. So how do I deal with people who don't want to be coached? I fire them. I just don't work with them. I'm not putting them down. They're not bad people. I don't care.
Yeah. So have there been cases where you had to fire clients?
Of course. Oh, yeah. It's like sometimes people just don't really want to do this stuff. It's okay. Or sometimes people, back to our conversation, well, you prove to me that this is going to help me get promoted, make more money. It may not. Don't bother.
Right, because you're getting promoted, while is a decent goal, is not necessarily related to being happier or being a better person.
Well, look, and also it's not necessarily related to being a good leader. I can help you be perceived as a more effective leader by your key stakeholders, right? I can help you get better at these behaviors. You picked the wrong behavior. Look, I didn't pick the behavior, you did. I didn't pick the stakeholders, you did. I didn't say this is worthwhile, you did. I'm helping you get better. What you said was important is judged by people you told me were important. I'm not making you do anything.
What if, though, excess ambition is really leading to less happiness. So yes, it's good to be goal-oriented and achievement-oriented and happiness-oriented,
Right.
but what if they are not independent variables? What if
Number one, I do believe they're independent variables. That's a whole different thing. So on the other hand, what's your question again?
they're independent variables, but what if excess ambition is keeping you from being happy?
When you say excess ambition, what does that mean?
Let's say a politician is only going to be happy if they want to be president of the United States. And so all their goals, everything they do is just, I got to be president or I'm going to be unhappy.
Maybe they'll be president. Great.
Or like one of these tennis players, I'll only be, they're so ambitious. It's hard for them to get off of the addiction.
Here's the point. The tennis player has no idea what they're talking about when they say that.
Mm.
Hey, go talk to Curtis Martin. Ask him how the National Football players do after they win the Super Bowl. Curtis gave the speech at the NFL this year to all the rookies. You know what he said? I want you to think of somebody you hate, someone you want to have a miserable life. And I'll tell you what to do. You give them a lot of fame and money when they're very young and watch what happens. Curtis is a very smart man, very deep guy.
My question is, how do you wean yourself off that addiction for fame and money?
Well, again, you don't have to try to achieve fame and money. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with achieving fame and or money, right? That's fine. I mean, I don't have that much money, but I have moderate amount of fame. You have a moderate amount of fame. Okay, nothing wrong with that. If we didn't have any fame, nobody would know who we are or listen to this call right now. It's okay. The key is don't just fixate on it and make that your value as a human being.
Right. And so let's say some people fixate on it more than others. So how do you wean yourself off the drug? Like, for instance, I don't fixate on taking crack every day. So it's no problem for me to not smoke crack every day, only occasionally. But like if someone's like addicted to crack, it's a little harder for them.
I don't recall saying anything was easy. This stuff's hard. Why do I have to have... Look, if I had my shit together, would I have to have someone call me personally on the phone every day for 27 years?
Like, what's the time when you've been unhappy?
What's that? I'm very happy on the whole. I don't have that as much of a problem.
But like, what's the time when you really needed that coach?
I can look back in my life. I'll give you a story. I was working in the LA City Planning Department. This story changed my life. And I was negative, angry, blah, 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 judgmental. So my old advisor, Dr. Case, calls me and says, Marshall, what's the problem here? He says, Marshall Goldsmith, you have discovered that the city government of Los Angeles is inefficient. What a stunning breakthrough. He said, my barber knows that. Do you have any other problems? He goes, oh, Marshall Goldsmith, oh, wise one. You have discovered when people donate millions of dollars to politicians, they're probably nicer to those people than those ones that don't give them money. My barber knows that. Now, Marshall, you're coming across as negative, pain in the ass, judgmental. You're annoying me. Now, Marshall, moving forward, you can have two options. Option A, son, is have a good time here. You still try to do good, still try to achieve, have some fun. Just have fun, enjoy yourself. Option B, you're fired, you're never going to graduate, and you wasted the last 5 years of your life. I said, son, what's it going to be? I said, Dr. Case, it's time to be happy, sir. Yes, sir. That was great. I'll tell you, that was great advice. I never forgot it.
Yeah.
Grow up.
A few weeks ago, I tried something that I'll call a no complaining diet. So I tried very, very hard to notice whenever I was complaining and just stop it.
Good.
And it was very interesting because I found out I'm complaining almost all the time. And so is everyone. And then you start to notice when other people are doing it. And so is everyone else. Everyone is just complaining all the time.
Right. I agree. See, you did it, right? You getting better?
I think I got a little better. And then I kind of forgot to do it.
You want to continue to improve?
Yeah.
All right. Every day you can evaluate yourself on one question. Did I avoid complaining today? Now, here's the point. There's one point you don't get about all this stuff. You keep thinking that you're going to get there. And if you don't get there, there's something wrong with the process. There's no there. if you want to do better at this complaining thing, don't think you're going to get there so you never complain again. You can totally understand everything, get better for a year, and someday you're going to be pissed off and start complaining. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You say, start over tomorrow.
Yeah, start over tomorrow is an important insight.
Yeah, start over.
Because sometimes I think, oh, I just spent the last X number of months, wasting my time or whatever, and then I regret. And
maybe you did. All right, are you ready? I'm not sure you've done this. Now, your first name is James, is that correct?
Yes.
Raise that right hand, repeat after me.
Okay.
My name is James.
My name is James.
I forgive myself for just being human.
I forgive myself for just being human.
Yeah, you haven't quite got there yet. This is good. Just forgive yourself.
Yeah.
You're human, man. You're going to screw up. We screw up all the time. Look, I said, my name is Marshall. I'm cowardly. I'm undisciplined. I can't do all this shit by myself. I need help every day. Why? I'll forget it. I get busy. Crap happens all the time. Act like an asshole. Well, I'm a human being.
Let me ask you, you do a lot of coaching. You spend a lot of time writing. You're writing all these books. You've written excellent books. What do you do in your spare time? What do you do as a hobby?
You know what I do for fun? If I could do anything right now for fun, you know what it'd be?
Bird watching.
I talked to some guy with crazy hair on a podcast. Now, you don't know this, James, but I've made a real sacrifice to be here today talking with you. I don't want to make you feel bad about it, but you know what I could have been doing today rather than talking to you? I could have been playing crappy golf with old men at the country club while eating chicken salad sandwiches and discuss gallbladder surgery. I passed up that opportunity to talk with you.
I'm grateful. I have gratitude for that.
Hey, what the hell am I going to do anyway, right? Play bad golf with old men? I don't want to do that shit. You think you could do that? Oh, my God, forget it. Like, be worse than me.
Oh, definitely. My wife and I went to play golf once, and she was so, I don't want to say we were bad. She was so ashamed of being around me and I'm literally and by the way, the other people, there was another group paired with us, and they actually went on ahead of us because they didn't want to be seen. I didn't really understand the etiquette of the golf course, and it just got the guards or whatever had to come up to us and say, "Hey, are you guys okay?" I was just messing up so bad.
I can't play golf either. Look, my neighbor where I used to live was a guy named Craig Stadler. So he won the master's degree. He's a big pro. And his kid was Kevin Stadler's now on the pro tour. His kid was the number 2 golfer in the world when he was 12 for his age.
Wow.
Kid comes over to visit my house. My daughter's there. He's 12 years old. He says, my daughter says, this little Kevin Stadler, he plays golf. I'm going, don't go there. She goes, my daddy plays golf. Oh, shit. So the little guy says, what's your handicap, sir? I said, 31. And then he starts laughing. He says, what's really your handicap? He couldn't believe any human could be that bad. He was 12. He had a handicap of 1.
Oh my gosh. And is he on the tour now?
What's that?
He's on the tour now, you said, right?
Oh, yeah, he's on the tour. Yeah.
Seems like that's a fun way to live life, is to just play a game all day.
Well, could be. Or not.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you might think it's unfulfilling.
You think of those people on the Olympics. Oh, man. Look at the statistics there after they quit. Not too pretty.
No, I know. I've had several Olympic athletes, medal winners on this podcast, who were suicidal.
That's right.
And I think it's a hard thing. That's particularly hard because the rewards are so, small. There's no monetary reward. And then the fame, the quote unquote fame, is only very fleeting unless you're like Michael Phelps or something. And then even he gets depressed and so on.
No, it's tough. That is if you think this is going to lead to happiness, peace, whatever. Or you know what we believe? It's all going to be okay when. When I get the money, status, BMW, condominium, everything's going to be fine when. There isn't a win. Every day you start over, there's no win.
And you keep pointing out correctly that I keep associating that with not desiring achievement. And I feel like in my head, I'm still making, like, what if you lose your desire for achievement?
Now, remember, one of my daily questions every day for me is, did I set clear goals? Did I make progress toward achieving my goals? It's one of my, every day I do that.
That's right. Okay. Right. So you have to kind of like I have to ignore this weird gut feeling as opposed to focusing on the questions themselves.
This is very good. Okay, ready for some free coaching?
Yes.
For some reason, you seem to have a fear that if you don't have some sort of fear or aversion or something, that you're not going to achieve enough and that you won't continue to be this ridiculous achiever that you have been in the past.
Yeah.
I am not worried in the future about your lack of achievement. I think you may have other problems in the future, but that one's not really crossing my mind. And by the way, it's not like I haven't achieved anything. I've achieved a thing or two. It's okay.
Yeah. Right. So, but I almost said, but let me figure out how to say this. Is my desire to achieve related to that fear, though?
Could be. And it's also probably related to this, which I think is a totally misguided belief that after I achieve that, I'm going to be happy, at peace, life is good, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, look, how much you've already achieved. Good Lord. I mean, come on, man. Give me a break. Give me a break.
That was yesterday, though.
I wouldn't be too hard on the boy there. You've done okay. You did okay.
That was yesterday, though. What about today?
Well, it's okay.
People won't like me today.
Now, let me give you another possibility. Let's assume you try something new and fall on your ass. Okay? So what? Try something new later. You're not going to die.
Yeah.
You're not going to starve to death, right? You're not going to die. Who cares? You do something, you try hard, you do your best, you enjoy it, and it didn't work. Okay, it didn't work. Shit happens sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the forgiving yourself.
Yeah, just start over, forgive yourself. You're just human here. Yeah, you're just human. We'll screw up sometimes.
So let me ask you, what's your goal for this MarshallGoldsmith.AI?
Well, what I want to do is give away as much as I can to as many people as I can. Okay. And hell, I'm 75. I'm going to die anyway. So, intellectual property, what do I care? And I can say that you send me $10 million tomorrow, my life's not going to change one iota. I'm not getting another car, house, kids. I'm going to buy anything anyway. So I just want to give everything away. And for me, it's a great way to give away everything I can. The damn thing is amazing. Let me give you an example. My daughter wants to trick it. And so she says, my daughter's a professor of marketing at Vanderbilt here. She wanted to trick it. She says, how is your coaching related to utilitarian philosophy? I don't know what utilitarian philosophy is. He studies utilitarian philosophy, he studies my coaching, figures out how it's connected, thinks of what I would say. By the way, put 3 million words in this thing, so it knows me very well. Figures out how I would answer the question and answers it in my voice in 5 seconds. It's mind-blowing to me. I don't know if it is to you, but to me, this is just mind-blowing.
No, it's amazing when AI talks back, it's amazing the things it says.
I find it mind-blowing. And so also I use the other AI bots to train my bot.
Right.
I like the Claude bot myself. That's my favorite of the others. So
I've never used it. I've used just ChatGPT.
You should try the Claude bot. I like it better. So I'd say, again, I don't want to criticize other bots, but I like the Claude bot of those. And then I like yours, the second one. And then the Gemini, I'm not that fond of. So I like the Claude bot. The Claude bot's actually more literary, I think, too. So I'll ask, if my bot can't answer a question, but I think it should be able to answer the question, I ask the question to Claude. Then I ask the Claude, how would Marshall Goldsmith answer? Or no, let's say, who's a philosopher you like? Say, pick one.
Me? Or you're asking the AI?
No, you pick a philosopher. Yes, you.
I'll go with Viktor Frankl, who I view as
Viktor Frankl. It's a great example. So let's say you ask MarshallBot, how is your coaching related to the philosophy of Viktor Frankl? If it knows, it should know. But if it knows, great. But if it doesn't know, I go to Claude. And I say, how is the philosophy of Viktor Frankl related to Marshall Goldsmith's coaching? It'll answer the question. Now, the parts of it that I like, I keep, and parts of it I don't like, I get rid of. I've done this over and over and over again, so that's how I train it.
Yeah, it's and so I see. So you not only did you feed in like all these words, like let's say you fed in all your books and it learned from that,
Right.
but you also then kind of did training of what's good and bad and so on, and it remains trained. It doesn't just stay trained for that day; it remains trained.
Well, here's another interesting point. Every computer bot is biased. So my computer bot is biased. They're all biased. The Gemini one is the one that had the case study, the Gemini and the pictures and all that stuff, right? Well, that thing just blew up. Every computer bot is biased. If you ask a computer bot a question, what is leadership? There are 100 possible answers. As soon as you pick an answer, it's biased by something. Well, my computer bot is biased by me. I am the bias. I'm not saying my answers are good answers or the right answers. All I'm saying is these are my answers. But at least you know whose answers they are. They're my answers. Yeah. And
No, I'm
by
gonna
the way,
definitely.
the other thing is, if you like it, great. If you don't like it, ignore it. It's okay. It's free anyway.
I'm definitely gonna play around with it and learn from it. How did you go from like urban planning and mathematics to executive coaching?
Well, my PhD is actually in organizational behavior, and I met a famous guy named Dr. Paul Hersey. Now, Dr. Paul Hersey is a big deal in our field at the time, highest paid consultant in the world doing what we do. And he let me sit in the back of his class. So I watched him. I said, man, that guy's good. I want to be him when I grow up. I want to be like him. So I said, look, I'll serve the coffee, do anything. Just let me sit in the back and watch. I did. One day he got double booked. He said, can you do what I do? I said, I don't know. He said, I'll pay $1,000 for a day. I was making $15,000 for a year. I'm from Valley Station, Kentucky. We had an outhouse the first 4 years I was in school. I wasn't brought up at Harvard Prep here. I said, $1,000 a day. Hey, that was a long time ago, 47 years ago, $1,000 a day. You know what I said? Sign me up, coach. I did a program for the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. They are phenomenally pissed off when I show up because I'm not him. But they love me. I'm telling jokes, having fun. The other people are stiff finance people, boring. I said, send him again. We love him. We love him. So he calls me up and says, you want to do this again? I said, there's a bear shit in the woods. I'll do this again. That's how I got into leadership development and coaching. I met a guy who was, at the time, CEO of a company called Warner Lambert. He said, I got this kid working for us, young, smart, dedicated, hardworking, driven to achieve, arrogant, stubborn, know-it-all jerk. He said, it'd be worth a fortune to me that kid would change his behavior. I said, I like fortunes. Maybe I can help him. I doubt it. Came up with the idea. I'll work with a kid for a year. He gets better pay me. You don't get better, it's free. You know what he said? Sold. There was nothing called coaching. I just made it up.
Well, you've done very good at it. Your books have inspired millions. I love the titles of your books, by the way. Like I think The Earned Life is a great title. What Got You Here Won't Get You There, which is how successful people become even more successful. Mojo, How to Get It, How to Keep It, How to Get It Back if you lose it. That's one that I honestly haven't read, but I didn't realize that one existed, but that's the first one I have to buy right now about Mojo.
That's good. It's all good.
Well, Marshall Goldsmith, I hope people try out MarshallGoldsmith.AI. I am going to try it out, or I'm going to use it. I'm going to ask myself these questions every morning as well. So you've already. This is why I do a podcast, by the way, is to have people like you on and then get free coaching. This is the entire reason I do a podcast. So thank you so much for participating in my giant experiment.
Oh, that's great. So thank you very much for inviting me. It's been wonderful to talk to you.
Thanks.
L is
Yup,
for the way
that's who you think it is. The Grimace Mug. The Hello Kitty keychain. Barbie herself. For a limited time, your favorite McDonald's collectibles filled with memories and magic are now on collectible cups. Get one of 6 when you order a collector's meal at McDonald's with your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets. Come get your cup while you still can. At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.
Imagine earning a degree that prepares you with real skills for the real world. Capella University's programs teach skills relevant to your career so you can apply what you learn right away. Learn how Capella can make a difference in your life at capella.edu.